It just seems really crazy to me that he just disappeared and nobody knows what happened.
Now, this video clip appears to have been captured completely on accident. They found that time-lapse video showing his bloodstained killer cleaning a gun.
This is 58-year-old Jim Briner, and what you are watching is the video that Jim accidentally recorded after he took the life of 19-year-old Dylan Rounds in a remote Utah desert, a crime that Jim thought no one would discover until now.
But that's what this is all about, that little bastard.
And over the course of 2 years, cops would find themselves in this small, desolate town, struggling to figure out the secrets behind Dylan's murder. But everything will point to that very same video recording, with a twisted monster at the center of it all.
On his right hand, nobody has noticed, he's got a bite mark.
I know how it happened, where it happened, when. I know what was used.
If Jim did anything like that, he'd definitely tell on himself.
Is there any reason anyone would say you did it?
I'd like to know why.
It was the morning of May 30th, 2022 in the small desert town of Lucin, Utah, and the parents of Dylan Rounds were growing increasingly concerned about their son. He hadn't been seen or heard from in 2 days, and when they checked the sprawling farm the 19-year-old co-owned with his grandfather, he was nowhere to be found. A Box Elder County Sheriff's deputy was dispatched to meet Dylan's parents at the 640-acre property, but was stopped en route by 58-year-old neighbor and friend of Dylan, Jim Briner. And while he'd claimed not to know where Dylan was, he was convinced others in town did.
I know he had a handgun and a shotgun. The shotgun used to lay on the back seat. I looked in his truck and I don't see the shotgun.
Okay.
And his dad knows what he's got.
He hasn't been like anything, has
No, no, but I'll tell you, he's been hanging out over that bar in Montello, and I could give you some names of some over there, but he's been shooting his mouth off about how much money he's making. And he's a 19-year-old kid, and there's one guy, Chase Vinstra. If you look him up, you'll he's over there, and he can do anything he wants. He's been robbing, stealing, and everything, and the Elko County Sheriff won't do anything about it. There's another guy by the name of Robert Lee. Just got out of prison. Spent 20 years or 10 years in prison for home invasion with a firearm. And he just got a guy from Salt Lake that bought 10 acres of land over there, pulled a home invasion, robbed him, and when the guy called the Elko County Sheriff, they come down and says, well, you don't have that much of a description. So he's walking around over there. And there's a couple other ones over there.
Jim seemed eager to steer suspicion towards Chase Vinstra, a known criminal who may or may not have had a recent interaction with Dylan. But considering no crime had yet been committed, Jim's strange send-off to the deputy would be a red flag that instantly set him on their radar.
Well, I'll let you get down there before they disturb the crime scene.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The deputy continued on and soon met with Justin Rounds and Cindy Cooley at their son's farm, where signs of foul play were everywhere. His truck was found seemingly abandoned, and his phone, wallet, and guns were mysteriously missing.
No guns in there?
Like I said, he has a 40 that he puts in the door, and then he has a shotgun. No guns in there.
What does he farm for out here?
Himself.
Oh, what does he farm for?
Oh,
Grain or?
yeah, grain.
Grain. Can you stop me when you guys went around me and was talking to me? He said that you knew something about a run-in he had with a guy named Chase?
Yeah, on Wednesday. But they told me that's normal. So.
Dylan purchased the property with his grandfather when he was just 17 years old for approximately $250,000 and had now built it to a fully functioning farm. That year was expected to be his first crop, but if Jim Briner could be believed, nefarious forces in town may not have taken too kindly to his success, including Chase Vinstra, especially when Dylan allegedly had a tendency to brag about the money he was making in local bars like the Cowboy. But as the investigation continued, authorities got a ping on Dylan's phone, and Jim arrived just in time with Donald Hately, a friend of the family who knew Dylan well.
I did get a ping.
Okay.
Last location was 15.4 miles from the phone line tower,
Okay.
which puts him on this back road.
So I wonder if would that hit him walking? Okay, that's I know my son, and that's the shortest route to his camp.
If he walked,
That road ends right out here.
if he walked, he would have come to the corner, cut across this field.
But that's his closest cell phone, Pete. Not in town, it's out here.
Mm-hmm. Off of that road, the back road into the compound.
Didn't we go down to where it is?
Yeah.
You can go out there to the cabin.
Well, but that's where the ping
But
was.
that's where the ping was. That's,
He was out there?
yeah, and what time was that? Does it tell you?
That was at 14:58.
So right after
So
he dropped,
just before 3 o'clock.
right after you left. So he must have pulled in right behind you, dropped off the grain truck, and I'm telling you, I bet you he took off walking.
How do you get to that road from?
Dylan's phone was found to have last pinged in an area near Jim's shed, and when authorities went there to investigate, they discovered their most disturbing clue yet: Dylan's bloody boot approximately 100 yards behind it. As DNA samples were taken for testing, Jim offered an alibi for his whereabouts at the approximate time Dylan disappeared. He was having dinner with Donald. Donald backed up his friend's story, and a helicopter took to the skies, scouring the area for any signs of Dylan.
So who owns this right here? That's the guy that he's a partner with. This is where he dropped the grain truck off. Where's his grain truck? It's backed into that silver building there.
With the young man nowhere to be found and no good leads, authorities decided to track down Chase Vinstra, the man Jim Briner said Dylan had recent altercations with. But Chase was lying low, and when they interviewed people at the Cowboy, the bar where Dylan and Chase had their encounter, they got what proved another big break in the case.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we're just trying to pinpoint where he might have gone. He's been missing a couple of days.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I was hearing Kurt say something about he had a confrontation with that Chase kid.
Yeah, that's who I'm looking for. Where do we find him?
I'm kind of worried about it because if Dylan did walk back from where he left the grain truck and Chase got a hold of him vulnerable, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's walking back, something bad could have happened because there was a bad injury with a kid just out here that got his face smashed in by the butt of a gun, and his whole camper shell was all bashed in and stuff.
Where do we find Chase? Is he from here? Does he live here?
Yeah, he does. He doesn't. He's from around here. This is where he hangs out. Yes.
Staying out here, and he was
Where was he staying at?
a big thief in town, and so everybody was after him, and they finally told him to get the hell out of town and stay the
Of course, he
hell out.
came back because he was just seen out here.
We don't know where he's been hanging out. He had a
What does he drive?
motorhome.
A motorhome?
Yeah.
Is it a bigger one? A small one?
I don't remember ever seeing a regular.
It's
Trying
small.
to remember, where did they see him when he was out? Where did they see him when he was out in the gill suit?
All place out here.
So does he always drive the motorhome? He doesn't have any other vehicles?
I heard you found he's in a vehicle now.
He had a car when
Yeah.
his dad gave him or something. But
He's a goofy son of a bitch, I know that.
That's certainly one way to describe Chase Vinstra, a man who had an infamous 10-hour armed standoff with police and once beat a man so severely that he abandoned his property and fled town. But the bar owner had more to say about a recent encounter between Dylan and Chase, something that may be key to unlocking this entire mystery.
Told me, I was overhearing part of the conversation, saying that Dylan was just driving down the road and Chase stopped him and said, "Hey, you got some water?" And he's like, "Hey, do you know Kurt?" Da, da, da. And I guess they got in an altercation about that because Chase was like, "Kurt's," and Dylan was like, "No, he's not. You know, he's a good guy. I work for, do work for him, blah, blah, blah." There was an altercation. Then he went on his way. And I believe, if I'm not mistaking the conversation, that was the same day that he drove the grader, the grainer over to wherever and then whoever was there couldn't give him a ride back. So he possibly walked. That's all I know about the conversation.
Okay. How does the kid getting hit with the butt of a gun, does that figure into this at all?
I think it does. I think there's some, because now we're talking violence.
Yeah.
So I know this third person came in. He's got poofy hair. Nobody really knows anything about him. But this kid let his property go. He stopped making payments on his property because he's so scared. But he woke up to the butt end of a gun into his face. They smashed his camper.
How old was he?
I don't know, 30s.
30s.
Has a family, has kids. He's out here, bought land out here, so I'm trying to homestead. And they stole his guns. They stole everything. He had nice stuff. It wasn't like he was a, user. You wouldn't think that with the nice things he had. But it scared him enough to where, and his face was all swollen up.
So he's not out here anymore, I would imagine.
Nope, he left. He let his property go. He's gone.
Okay.
But his face was, he was messed up. They smashed his face in. So whoever.
There's no doubt that Chase was capable of extreme violence, and if Dylan crossed him that day in the desert, it was a very real possibility he paid with his life, especially considering the alleged animosity between the pair. So with the evidence increasingly pointing to Chase, something strange suddenly happened at the trailer on Dylan's property. It seemed someone had broken in at night and stolen multiple items from inside, as Justin Rounds explained to police arriving on scene.
The 40 was not in here. We looked in his camper, didn't find it. No key fob for the truck, so when I broke the window, the alarm went off, we undid the battery. No key fob. We looked in his camper and all the cupboards and stuff, looked in the bathroom, nothing. I believe it was Tuesday. I'm getting my days kind of run together. Tuesday or Wednesday. My mother came here. She has real bad arthritis. My sister was here. We were all out searching. She used the bathroom. Dylan hadn't flushed it. You'll see it here. It's really nasty. So my sister went in and cleaned it. Still no gun. Later, my son and JD came in, and the gun was sitting on a sink. It's outside of the bathroom, but right by the bathroom door where the toilet and the shower is the sink, but it's not in the bathroom. The gun was sitting right there with the clip outside of it.
Okay.
Sitting there. And then, so my son and JD didn't think much of it. They grabbed the gun, put it in my truck. I didn't think much of it. Oh, they found the gun. I don't know. Then we started realizing that it wasn't there when my sister cleaned the bathroom for my mom to use and all that, and it was there. Then later they found the key fob the next morning, I believe, and I don't remember which morning, what day it was. Candace has all this documented, and we've told the detectives.
The revelation that the scene was tampered with had startling ramifications, and clearly someone was trying to cover up their involvement in a possible crime. But when the officer asked Justin what he'd heard about Jim Briner, what he'd say would immediately raise suspicion about the neighbor who, up until now, had only been helpful with the investigation.
What was Chase's ties to out here?
I don't know about Chase.
Okay.
Hardly any. But the whole town knows him. And that whole town, it's a crazy place. They're just all like, they're all nutty for one thing. And they're just all kind of like looking out for each other. They're scared. I think that whole town is scared of policemen. But yeah, Kirk says he wants them there, but then he don't respect them at all. I can tell.
Yeah, out in Montello.
Yeah, Montello. But I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but the only people that I know of that really were in contact with Dylan is I hear the Chase guy, I didn't know it. But Don and Jim. Jim was the guy the place you guys were at.
Okay.
Jim came out here and helped. Jim came to Rigby, where I live. I live in Rigby in Idaho Falls area. Dylan bought like 800 pigs or something from the Midwest when the pandemic hit, whatever the corona. They brought them to my farm and I was pissed. And Jim was there and I unleashed him and told him to get the hell out of here. He called Dylan and told him he was going to blow my head off. Dylan called me, he got all mad. So when I found out he was going to blow my head off, I had to go see. And he's walking down the lane of the farm with a big old pistol, and my dad calmed him down. He calmed me down. Then he came back this winter to my shop to work on that seed truck. Fine, everything was fine, and I realized it's Dylan's friend. I'm not going to worry about this, you know what I mean? I got to mentalize him and stuff. And Don also came to Rigby the winter before this and lived in my grandpa's house because that tractor ran him over, broke both of his legs out in Argo, Idaho. Dylan was doing some custom work, so I don't know exactly how Dylan got to know these guys.
Okay.
but they looked for a job, and Dylan could give them some money to do some stuff, and they've kind of befriended him and helped him. Don has been running this pivot. My dad asked him to come start it. He's been filling up the tank and running this and doing stuff and doing electrical work just in the last few days too.
Okay.
But some people seem to think he's a person of interest, but I don't know, and I don't know. So that's about all I know of who he knows.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Is there anything else I can help you with tonight?
Just find my son soon.
Yeah.
I know you can't do it tonight, but
Yeah. I wish I knew everything and had the little crystal ball or something and like, okay, here's all the answers.
I love it. Yeah, it's been a long.
Up until then, there'd been no real reason to look into Jim Briner. Both he and Donald had done nothing but cooperate, and had in fact gone out of their way to assist the family in their search for Dylan. But now that police had heard Justin's disturbing story, they realized that they needed to, at the very least, eliminate him as a suspect. But when they looked into his history, they found it surprisingly criminal, and especially violent. Jim had multiple convictions for aggravated assault, weapons charges, and a pre-existing federal warrant for aggravated assault. He had previously been incarcerated for over a year, during which time he lost everything he owned, including his horses and all of his possessions. So using the warrant as pretext, authorities caught up with Jim near the grain shed where Dylan had parked his truck. And once again, he was with his good friend, Donald Haley.
No, I understand.
What could I do for you guys?
Well, we just had a couple things we wanted to talk to you about. We're still trying to figure stuff out, and just, have you guys heard or seen anything these days? Anything new? I was gonna interview you, but we didn't end up getting to that point because we did some other stuff, and
The other guy come in, he was a detective and I think he was a psychiatrist too. This trash over here. I know names, I know people, I know nobody seems to want to listen to me. They're the ones coming over stealing shit.
Are they?
Yeah, Chase Vinstra and Robert.
There's a warrant for your arrest. I'm going to let you know about it right now.
From Maryland.
So we're going to pick you up and take you to jail with us.
Oh, God damn it.
So what I want you to do, I know before you talk, you place your hands on your head for me. Interlock your fingers. Okay?
I got a knife in my pocket.
Right.
Okay.
He said he's wondering about your dog.
Jim's taken into custody for his active warrant, where police immediately let him know he's being questioned for reasons far more serious.
So,
ask away.
Well, it's really not a matter of ask. It's a matter of we're trying to find the timelines and why we got you here. We can talk to you. Same as what we talked to him out there. We talked to your buddy, what's his name?
Don. Yeah, we talked to Don before we were here to talk to you.
With us, told us the story. He says, I already talked to cops about this, but I said, well, just talk to us about it. We've got a kid missing.
I understand that.
We need to find that.
And I know him better than you do. I work for him.
Okay.
Well, that's why one of the reasons why you're sitting here.
Yeah.
Because I know you know him.
Yep.
So.
Okay, timeline. My buddy Don likes to cook. I like to eat. And I usually buy a roast or rack of ribs or something, and bring it over there. We either throw it on a barbecue grill or he cooks it, and he's a good cook. So that Saturday night, there was a movie on that I wanted to watch. So I had brought some ribs over there, and I left the farm about, I'd say between 1 and 2. I wear a watch, but the only time I look at it is when I need to know what time it is, really. And I was in my own little world there. I'm trying to build a chicken coop in that barn and everything. And so I left, and I went over to the pond, and I got a little bit of wood, and I got some water. That's where I get my wood and water. And I figured it's on the way over to his place. And then I was over there, and we had cooked the ribs, and then we watched some stuff, watched the show on TV.
And I come back it was about 9 o'clock because it was dark, but it was still light.
So that heading towards it, right?
Yeah, I can still see, and I come up over the hill, and there's the grain truck in the shop. So Don called me up the next day and asked me if I'd seen Dylan. I said, no, I haven't seen him. I said he was here. And I had noticed there was tracks coming down the driveway. I normally don't use the front gate. I have no reason to, because Don lives the other way, so I go out in and out the back gate. But there was a set of tracks coming in from the 10-wheeler, and there was another set of tracks leaving. So I went out. Dylan has a habit of not closing a gate. And I went up there, and I had it locked, too. So he had taken the wires off the bottom, pulled it out, and then left the chain hanging there. And then when he left, somebody left, they wired it back up, and they closed the gate. So that's why I kept saying, he didn't walk, he left. He closed the gate when he went out.
Okay.
And they've been all over that place. And that's all I know. Then Chase Vinstra, whatever the hell his name come up. This guy has been a problem over in Montello since he's been over there. He's been responsible for all the thefts on both sides of the border. So this guy's a thief. The fact that he had a run-in with Dylan on the Tacoma Road, and the fact that him and Robert Aviles are connected to the pond scares the hell out of me, because that means he was in loose end. Now I'm sitting here in jail right now, and I got about $600 worth of DeWalt tools in my shop that he could walk right in there and get. Or anybody could. I don't think he could. I think he's locked up right now. But you guys won't, well, not so much you guys, but the Elko County Sheriff won't question these people over there in Montello. And that's what's scaring me right now is Justin's over there. He's about ready to bust heads. And I don't blame him. He's looking for his kid. Isn't that kind of odd? He's a known tweaker, a known thief. But nobody's going to talk to him. Robert Aviles, his name keeps coming up. He spent 20 years in prison for armed robbery and trying to kill a police officer, I believe it was. Right? He's been out for over a year and a half, hasn't had a job, he just got caught down in Wendover with $30,000 worth of stolen merchandise, trying to outrun the Wendover cops, and when they caught him, they found he spent 8 days in county jail. Somebody bailed him out. He still doesn't have a job. The truck and all the other stuff is still in impound, but conveniently, he gives Chase a ride out to Loose End Pond.
Hey, let's talk about that. Let's go back. When was that?
Supposedly that was Monday after Dylan come up missing. But the fact that they were out there, neither one of them have any reason to be out there. They're known thieves. And I don't know why he's discounted as a witness. I mean, he clearly, before that he was out to the Gamble Ranch trying to shoot a cow with a rifle. And they called the Elko County Sheriff on him, and they said, no, we got nothing on him. He's your problem. Another one, Robert Lee, the Elko County detective I talked to the other day, says he's familiar with him. He just got out of prison for, did 10 years in prison for strong arm robbery. And lo and behold, about 3 weeks ago, a fellow from Salt Lake that bought 10 acres of land over in Montello, 2 guys went into his trailer, beat him up with a pistol, whipped him, robbed him, took his cell phone, and made it so his vehicle wouldn't run. He had to walk into town to call the police. The Elko County Sheriff gets down there and says, well, you don't have a good enough description, we can't do anything, which is about what they're good at.
So,
there's a lot of shit going on in Montello.
Is he the one that they talk about being pistol whipped with the butt of a gun? Is that the one? Or is that somebody different?
I think it's the same person.
Okay.
When we had talked to some people, there were people referring to him getting robbed and hit with the butt of a gun.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I don't know him personally.
Jim brings up Chase Vinstra and other known criminals without being prompted, people he's convinced could be responsible for Dylan's disappearance. And while police had so far been unable to reach Chase, that would all change very soon. But first, a striking admission by Jim would raise detectives' eyebrows and place him squarely at the top of their list of potential suspects.
Is there any reason anyone would say you did it?
What's that?
Is there any reason anyone would say you did it?
I'd like to know why. I've been hearing some shit on Facebook about how me and Don wanted him out of the way because we could, so we'll have the farm. That farm is in his grandfather's name. And first of all, I've known Larry for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. If I did this, I'd be one sick son.
Well, there's got to be somebody that's some sick son of a somewhere, right? What about Don?
I've known Don for over 2 years.
Okay.
Don's gone out of his way to help Dylan just like I have. I mean, I loaned him the money to get that trailer down there. And paid me, I loaned him $500 and he paid me $200 back.
It just seems really crazy to me that he just disappeared and nobody knows what happened.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Like I say, he's been hanging out over at that bar, shooting his mouth off, bragging about how much money he's making. And I think it was a strong arm robbery.
That happened on your property? Is that what you mean?
I don't know where it happened.
Because I'm just asking because remember you said you saw the tracks on the road in your property, right?
Somebody gave him a ride out of there.
Okay.
His world revolves around tractors, farming, shit like that. I mean, he had a couple guns that his dad gave him, and he had a shotgun, and we found that. That's up in Rigby. But he always carried that in the back seat, and you could always tell when he had shells for it, because every time he got out of the truck, there'd be a loaded 12 gauge. I used to walk up behind him picking up 12 gauge shells and putting them back in his... And the pistol he had, they found that, and he was afraid to keep that loaded. He used to keep the gun in the console and keep a loaded magazine. And I told him, I said, Dylan, you either need to learn how to use that thing or put it somewhere. I said, that's going to get you killed. And it's a little late for that, but I was telling his dad that too.
With his earlier reference to disturbing the crime scene and his constant use of past tense when referring to Dylan, it seemed Jim just couldn't stop implying that the worst had already happened. So as he was booked safe and sound in the county jail, detectives finally located Chase Vinstra and brought him in on an active warrant of his own. He'd adamantly deny any responsibility in Dylan's disappearance and instead claim he was the victim of a conspiracy. But then detectives came up with a bold plan. They'd place him in the cell above Jim Briner's, hoping that one of them would spill something about the case that would lead them one step closer to finding Dylan. And it wasn't long before Chase contacted detectives to do exactly that. But first, he'd have a few non-negotiable demands.
I want these charges dropped that Jeff has got put on me.
What? I don't know anything about that.
Hey, the other day I'm at work and Jeff calls me and says he wants to talk to me about Dylan's case. Out of the blue.
How long ago was it?
Like 10 days ago.
Really?
Okay. Out of the blue. I've been doing good on my probation. I've been out since last May. I've been doing good. I haven't gotten any new trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I got a new baby on the way. I got a beautiful new girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working every day. I'm doing what I'm supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
I've passed every drug test. I haven't had any trouble. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Getting my life back together.
Yeah.
And Jeff had to come up with some pretty bad charges to get me put in with Briner.
I have no idea. Honestly, I didn't even know that he contacted you to talk to you.
Yep.
I'm not even at that point in the case.
He arrested me right there, hauled me here. They put me in.
Ross did?
Yep.
Okay.
They put me in there. I'm in the cell above Briner.
Okay.
I've got to talk to him. I've talked to other cellmates. I know a lot.
Okay.
I know a lot. I can put this thing to bed for you.
Well, I mean, honestly, to be straightforward with you, I can't do anything about the charges. Me myself, right? They got to be federal, right?
No, they're state.
Oh, I didn't even know that there were any. So
I want them charges dropped, and I'll solve this case for you.
All right. I'm not able to do it, so I just came to talk to you to see if you had something you wanted to tell me. You don't have to, you know.
got everything to tell you, but when I'm out of these chains and in my clothes,
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I can't make that kind of deal with you, so
that's what
it's fine if you don't want to.
That's what I want.
That's fine.
I just want to be left alone. I want, like, we got an ultrasound on my new baby tomorrow. I want to go be there with her. This is her first baby. I'm applying for a job with the state out there, driving a snowplow truck and stuff. I'm planning on moving out there with her, middle of nowhere, working on the cattle ranch.
Out west?
Out in Nevada.
Like Montello area?
No.
Oh, just out that way, though? Okay, cool.
Out there, a ways away from town. We're like 60 miles from town.
If you call it a town, right?
yeah, it's not much. It's not much.
No, it's not much at all.
There's like 3 families in the whole place.
I got
That's
you.
perfect. She likes that. I like that. That's the future I want.
I hope you get it.
I'm done with this thing. I've been dragged through the mud with this thing with Dylan. You guys know that I'm innocent.
I don't. We're not looking at you as a suspect or anything.
At all. Yeah.
No, we haven't for a while. We were able to figure that out. I mean, it didn't take much, But I can't offer you anything, so I do apologize for that because I don't know it. I don't really know. Ross just said that your son called him and asked him if he would come and talk to you. And he's like, I'm not in a position that I can go talk to him right now. Can you go see what he wants to talk about? So that's my knowledge of this right here. So
I know how it happened, where it happened, when. I know what was used, where it's at.
Okay.
I can put this whole thing to bed for you guys.
Well,
okay.
And
I hate to.
I wish you could, but there's not anything I can offer you.
Yeah, I hate to be that way with you, but I've got to look out for me.
It's just how it goes. I understand that.
That's
why I'm being straightforward with you. Like there's nothing I can do as far as those go, so that's fine.
Okay. I'll tell you right now, I don't want the money.
There isn't any money anymore.
Jeff told me there's still $200,000.
No, there's not. They withdrew that.
I don't know.
But
I don't want the money. I don't want the glory. I don't want any part of this other than to solve it for you guys and be left alone.
It seemed investigators' plans worked a little too well, because now that Chase claimed to know exactly what happened to Dylan and how Jim Briner was involved, he would use it as a bargaining chip for freedom. But despite his claims of turning over a new leaf and leaving his evil ways behind, detectives had no reason to trust him, and with no deal to drop his charges, he returned to his jail cell. It had been a month since Dylan disappeared, and the case was at a complete standstill. But when detectives went to speak with Donald Hately, the friend of both Dylan and Jim would give the case the major shakeup it so desperately needed.
I've been trying the same thing you guys are doing. These things, and just nothing makes sense to me from what I know.
Well, things are starting to become a little bit clear for us. I mean, not 100%. Obviously, it's not 100%, or we'd have Dylan, would have the guy in jail. They're starting to get a little clearer. And there's still some things that aren't making 100% sense of what people are telling us. And I'm telling you from experience that when things don't make sense, it's because someone's not telling us the truth about something. So that's what we're trying to figure out. And I believe when you tell me that you're not going to hold anything back or you're not going to cover for them, but I want to make sure you really understand that.
I do.
Because from this point on, after we talked a couple times, what I expect is every little detail that you can think of that will be important to us. And obviously, if Jim said, "Oh yeah, he pissed me off and I knocked him out and I came over here," that would be important, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you would tell me that.
Yeah.
Or anything of the sort, you would tell me that.
Oh, yeah.
You never heard anything like that.
If Jim did anything like that,
yeah,
he'd definitely tell on himself.
You think he'd tell on himself?
Oh yeah, he's one of them guys that, well, you met him. He's excitable, and if he gets pissed off, he rants and raves about it for
a few minutes, calms down, right?
Yeah, and then sometimes it'll creep up into him a week later, and
one thing that was really odd that you said was that he normally isn't the type to be on time. He always takes an extra hour, half hour to get ready, and that day that he came over,
Yeah, he was on time.
He was on time, and that was a little bit odd that he would be that way. Did he have any, like, what was his attitude? Did his demeanor, was it anything different than normal?
No, he seemed normal. It's just, let's see. Usually if I text him once, he'll either call back or come right back, text me or something. Unless he's busy, you know, he's been working on that chicken coop. And,
Because if he texted you, or you texted him, hey, come on over, and then you said, what, like 3 minutes later he was at your house?
No. He texted him about 2 o'clock and said the ribs will be ready at 3.
Saturday was the 28th.
Yep.
Okay. 28th at 12:32. Just to remind him, I texted him that Yellowstone season 1 just started.
Yep.
Okay. I texted him again at 2 o'clock to tell him I'm putting the ribs on at 3. He really had a taste for ribs, I know that. He bought the rack.
And he didn't text you back or call you back? He just showed up?
Yeah, it's not unusual. He usually does that.
Okay.
When he's expected. It would be weird if he just showed up without me expecting him or him texting me or calling me or something. Or he might tell me, you know, I might stop by tomorrow evening. I go to the pond and get water and pick up some sticks for the fire. And then I know that sometimes he shows up, sometimes he don't. It was just kind of a deal between me and Jim. If I don't hear from him for 2 days, or he don't hear from me for 2 days, we kind of worry about each other.
Oh yeah,
I mean, one deal in there, I didn't hear from him for 2.5 days, and I texted him. If I don't hear from you by tomorrow morning, I'm going to come over and feed your horse and your dog and start looking for your body.
Yeah.
Well, then he called me.
That day, you told me before that you must have talked to him before you came out on Sunday, because he said that Dylan must have been over there, and because the grain truck was there. What's really hard is that grain truck and that activity happened before he came to your place. That activity happened before 3 o'clock.
Oh, really?
100%.
Oh, shit. What the fuck is up?
That activity, Dawn, all of it happened before 3 o'clock.
I already cut out going to Montello. Now I ain't going to see Jim anymore.
So, I appreciate your cooperation, but it puts you in a little bit of a bad spot.
I've been honest with you. You check my phone records, it shows you the text. I don't. You're saying before 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You just ignored me here.
Okay.
Because I totally believe Jim. And I know he was at my house at 3 o'clock.
What did he say to you about what happened on the day before 3 o'clock?
I don't really remember. Normal stuff, like maybe he was working on his chicken coop, or he might have stopped down at the pond to get some water or something, but not really much. Man, so. Oh man. This we do. My God, if Jim's involved, that's gonna.
Well,
if he's involved, he ain't the man I thought he was.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is, you never truly know. You think you do. I mean, it could be your own family. people can hide things.
I don't know what to do now.
Donald's just been faced with a very awkward truth, because not only did he just learn his best friend Jim's a liar, he may very well be a killer. And as he tried to get his bearings and continue the conversation, he remembered some startling details.
I would just like to go and stay with my kids for a while until the shit settles down. I don't know.
Well, I would like to think that you're being honest with us, because I'd like to think that everybody is being honest with us. I will give you the same admonition I would give anybody else, is that if you're withholding information or if you're not telling us the truth, A, now is the time, and B, if it continues, you know that at this point, if you have information that we would need to know, or that you're not telling us the truth, at this point it would be hindering our investigation. You understand that?
Yeah.
I assume, right?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something.
Okay.
And I really don't think it has anything to do with anything. You guys found ammunition and stuff at Jim's.
Yeah.
And he's a black powder enthusiast.
Yep.
But he figured that would be a reason to poke him, so to speak, say whatever. So he brought his black powder rifles over to my place.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Where are those?
Well, I put one behind my bed, in my bedroom, and the other one's leaned up in the corner next to the table on the couch.
When did you bring them? After Dylan.
Oh yeah, definitely after.
Just the muzzle loader, or is there any other firearms?
All he got was those black powder guns, 2 rifles, and a 6-gun. He said the last time I seen him wearing that 6-gun was 2 years ago. Just thought he ought to get it out of there.
Why?
Basically safety. That's what he told me. Last time, they had him in holding for over a year, and when he got out, everything he had was gone.
It seemed that sometime after Dylan's disappearance, Jim asked Donald to hang on to his firearms for what he called safety reasons. But in hindsight, the real motive was all too clear. And as it slowly dawned on Donald that he may be in possession of the murder weapon, he also realized a disturbing fact. Thanks to Jim, he was this close to being implicated in a potential murder himself. But as Donald's left to grapple with this fact, and Jim's left to sit in jail with an additional firearms charge, the case ground to a halt for months, until an unexpected witness came forward with a story to tell. Jim's cellmate, James Prophet.
So they had said that you wanted us to come back, that you had more information?
Yeah.
Or did you have information before that you just didn't give us all of it?
No, I didn't really have a whole lot of information then.
Okay.
I got plenty of information now. I got information that would probably help maybe even keep from cutting the deal that he wants to cut a deal with.
Okay.
On his right hand, nobody has noticed, he's got a bite mark.
Really?
He's got a bite from Dylan rounds. The 22 is what killed Dylan. 2 shots.
22?
Yeah, the 22.
Did he tell you that?
Yeah. The
story. Did he tell you that?
Like 3 days ago.
Go through that.
He come back and he was telling me, and I'm like, how you gonna make a deal if you didn't do it? And he's like, well, I did. Let me tell you what happened. He said it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. He was in there taking shit, and then he heard a diesel truck drive by the place he was staying in. And when he got out there, he had his 45, a gun that he put in a fold-over holster. And Dylan had picked it up off the sawhorses that he had thrown his stuff all around, moved it up so he could put the truck in the
So this is into the shed? Okay.
Yeah. And Dylan was holding the 45, and he said he got really pissed off at him and started yelling at him and telling him, get Dylan's took the gun and fired it right beside his ear. That's why he can't hear out of his right side ear. And he said he grabbed for the gun and was fighting for it. He said they ended up on the ground, and Dylan ended up shooting himself in the leg with the 45. And then he said that while they were fighting, the gun got fired like 2 or 3 times. He said there's a bullet hole in the side of the building out there you can see. He said when you guys was out there talking to him and standing in the shed or something, standing out there, he said he was sitting there looking at it. And then he showed me a scar on his thumb too, where he had stuck his hand in the gun that was trying to keep Dylan from firing it again, but he was clicking it, and his whole right hand was damaged at one time.
Okay.
But the bite mark is evident, very seeable, and the body is somewhere right there close by. He said he's seen tire marks over it where you guys have been driving. Somebody had been driving on it.
Just give you any indication of where? There's a lot of country out there.
Yeah, he said it's in the high desert.
Did he say that it was close to where he killed him?
Yeah, it's close. It's close somewhere there.
Where he killed him.
He gave like a 25-mile circumference.
If James was to be believed, detectives now had far more of the story to go on than any point in the investigation. But what still hadn't been explained was why this fight suddenly turned from a scuffle between friends over use of Jim's shed to a full-blown murder.
Okay, so he heard Dylan drive by in his truck. Dylan had backed the truck into the grain shed.
No, he said the truck was still parked out.
So it wasn't backed in yet.
Yeah, no, it wasn't backed in, and that's when they had the fight. They had the fight going on in there. He said that the round on the gun got turned. He said he heard it turn.
Like it was a revolver?
Yeah, it was a revolver. And so he knew that there was no shells in the clicking part. He said that he got to the chance where Dylan had quit biting him on his wrist. He had latched onto him, and he said he got up and he took off out, and that's when he got to 22. And Dylan told him to bring his in there, bring it out. Dylan told him to get in there, or he was going to shoot the horse. The horse was standing outside.
Into the grain shed?
Yeah.
Talking about?
Okay. The horse was standing out there eating grain out of the back of the truck.
Okay. Okay, so let's there was the scuffle in the shed with the revolver. Where did he get the revolver from? Was it in the shed?
Yeah, the revolver, he said he had stuck on the bottom. He had these sawhorses he made.
Okay.
And he had it like little toolboxes made underneath. He said he had it sitting in there.
Okay.
When Dylan came up throwing his shit around, Dylan discovered that was there. So
and then Dylan accidentally shot himself in the leg, right? Isn't that what you said?
No, they were struggling.
Oh, he shot by his ear. I apologize.
He shot by his ear. Okay. They were fighting for the gun at that time. When they went to fight for the gun at that time, it got turned towards Dylan as it fired, and it shot him in the leg.
Okay, and then from what you're saying, did he run back to the trailer and get the 22?
He told me that the 22 was in the. He said it was in 2 different places. In the back of the truck. He said he put it in the back of Don's truck, but Don had to be there if that was the case. But no, he said it was behind the bags, some grain bags.
Okay.
They had some grain bags
in the shed or out of the shed. Didn't say.
He didn't say.
Okay, so he gets the 22. Then what happened?
He said he took 3 shots at him, and they're all. One of them grazed Dylan on the side of his face. He pointed just like this to the side of his face, so it could have been red. I couldn't tell you if it was right side or left side. But then he said 2 more shots. He shot Dylan in the head.
And that killed him?
Yeah.
And then what did he do?
Then he said he burned all of his clothes. He said after he took care of everything, he burned all the clothes.
Did he say what he did with Dylan? Because obviously did Dylan die in the shed?
Yeah.
Or outside the shed?
I would imagine inside.
Okay, where the scuffle was.
Yeah, where the scuffle was.
Okay. So when he went back to get the 22, wherever he went to get it, did he have control of the other gun at that time?
No, Dylan had it.
And did Dylan shoot at him or anything like that?
He said when he come around the corner to the opening, when Dylan said he was going to shoot his horse, Dylan was standing there with, kind of like
Holding the gun.
Holding the gun, facing out towards him, and was trying to get away when he seen he had the gun.
Okay.
After Dylan's murder, James burned the evidence, then loaded his body onto a backhoe before burying it on a remote stretch of desert. He discarded Dylan's phone in a nearby pond, then went to Donald's house to eat ribs as if nothing had ever happened. But he made a few crucial mistakes. Dylan's boot was left behind, and the results were in. Not only was the blood found to be Dylan's, but touch DNA came back as a perfect match for Jim's. And when authorities searched a nearby pond and recovered Dylan's phone, the evidence they found would irrefutably link Jim to the crime. It was a video of him cleaning a gun in what appeared to be a shirt stained with blood. But when faced with this evidence, Jim still refused to tell investigators any information about his involvement in Dylan's murder. And it wasn't until authorities agreed to reduce charges that he agreed to tell them the location of the body. Nearly 2 years after Dylan's death, his killer finally brought detectives to the deep Utah backcountry where he buried him. It would finally bring this twisting, tragic tale to a close, and be the only closure Justin Rounds and Cindy Cooley would ever receive. Jim Briner agreed to plead guilty to the murder of Dylan Rounds in exchange for a sentence of 1 to 15 years, the maximum allowed under the law. During sentencing, Judge Brandon Maynard told Briner he'd recommend to parole board officials that they keep him there as long as they can. Thank you for watching today's video. Whether you're new here or have been with us for a while, check out one of the craziest cases I've ever covered right here, or one of my newest uploads right here.